Now, this row is really interesting because it's probably between two people who you like and two people who you assume to be on the same side. But when it comes to Tommy Robinson, Mike Graham of Talk TV has been a thorn in the side of the activist for a long time, buying into, some would say, the mainstream media narrative. And so when Mike Graham launched an impassioned defense on Talk TV about the Islam religion, Tommy wasn't having it. He posted, Mike, another one, who lambasted and attacked us for being braver than him and years ahead of him. This is the video that Tommy was referring to.
The only cult of religion in the world that tells you to kill other people because they're not Islamic is Islam. There is no other question about it. Christian people don't go around murdering Muslims because they're not Christian. Hindus don't go around murdering Christians because they're not Hindu. Muslims go around murdering other people because they're not Muslim. And that is a simple truth, I'm afraid. And the sooner you expect to accept that, then the sooner we can all start fixing the problem. Because in my view, there are too many people like Jihad al-Shami in this country who have come here from parts of the Middle East, parts of the Far East, who don't understand that killing people is wrong, who think that killing people is okay. And Keir Starmer, as the Israeli government have said this morning, is complicit in all of this.
And so it probably is time for there to be a national debate about whether a whole load of people in the mainstream media, in positions of authority, need to 180 and actually publicly apologise to Tommy Robinson. But of course, what's depressing is that people who I think should know better, like anyone on the centre-right, and maybe it's hard to put the Conservative Party on the centre-right these days, they're probably on the centre-left in reality. But why do you keep on turning someone who has been proven right on the issue of radical Islam time and again into your enemy? But that's exactly what James Cleverly, the shadow foreign secretary, no, he's not shadow foreign secretary, is he? What was his new job? Can't remember, I'll check. But that is exactly what he said at the shadow secretary of state for, I'm not sure what, but this is exactly what he said at Conservative Party conference today.
Just wondered if I could get your response to Israel inviting Tommy Robinson over in response to the attack in Manchester last week.
So first of all, I don't think we should describe it as Israel. It is a member of the Israeli government. Obviously, there's a broad coalition within the Israeli government. I have no doubt that a number of other people in the Israeli government are as uncomfortable with that as I am. I think it's a foolish move on behalf of the individual that did that. Tommy Robinson and others of his ilk are now wrapping themselves up in a pro-Jewish, pro-Israeli posture because basically it's an opportunity to do what they really want to do, which is to be anti-Muslim. So I think it's an error. I've said so. And Tommy Robinson is no friend of the Jewish community, whether it be in London or anywhere, whether it be in the UK or anywhere else in the world.
Shadow living up secretary. But I mean, just an extraordinary thing to say. An extraordinary thing to say. And also just shows you that even amongst people who should know better, there is still this mainstream media philosophy when it comes to Tommy Robinson. They do need to wake up. And I give serious credit to the Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel, Sharon Haskell, who had to face the truly ghastly lefty Kathy Newman on Channel 4 News last night. And as the Grift report explained, Newman called him far right, smearing him yet again while asking the Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel to condemn her colleague for hosting him in a few weeks, saying he is to blame for a lot of division on the streets. But she fired back. This is how you deal with the mainstream media. Watch. Big news. Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars. if you may?
If you would condemn your ministerial colleague Anakai Chickley for hosting the far-right activist Tommy Robinson in a few weeks' time, he's been responsible for a lot of those divisions that you're seeing played out on the streets.
Look, I have to say, the UK itself have accepted even people who were criminal.
But I'm asking you about Tommy Robinson. Would you condemn your colleague for hosting
that you
him?
have accepted into the UK, a person called Jihad, Holy Islamic War, who murdered 2 Jews?
He was born in this country. He was born in this country.
Who was on bail because of rape charges. He's from Assyrian descent. Okay? Look.
So you won't condemn your colleague for hosting Tommy Robinson?
No. People are entitled and allowed to speak out their mind.
Sharon Haskell, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh my God. To my superstar panel together, Declaration founder Alan Miller and Peter McElvenna of the Hearts of Oak podcast. Peter, seriously, I mean, number one, this is getting boring. It's becoming increasingly irrelevant now that people can be in the independent media. I mean, gosh, we were both at Unite the Kingdom doing our own media work. People could watch live what happened on Outspoken, make their own judgment. It certainly was not a far right or a divisive event as Channel 4 News might want to present. But what about the people on the right, Peter? Like, what about people like Mike Graham and James Cleverly, who you might agree with on other issues, but when it comes to Tommy Robinson, seem to stick to a particular baked-in narrative?
Well, when they say Tommy Robinson is ilk, I'm part of that ilk, I guess. So I back him for 18 years. And yeah, you see, I saw one of the headlines, even The Spectator said, Jews don't need Tommy Robinson. I mean, I would say that Jewish people really need a lot of support because the onslaught they face, and those who will step up and actually support Jews to have the right to live in their state, surely that is a positive thing. And James Cleverly being the arbitrator, the person who decides who's a friend of Israel or the Jewish people. Seriously, is that his role? He is the one that decides who Israel can be friends with. He's like the playground bully, pointing out who can be friends with each other. Come on, grow up a little bit and let's have an open debate. I would love Tommy to actually open this up and bring lots of people over. The Israeli minister, Amichai Chakli, if I got that right, my new hero, my hero of the week, for standing up and asking Tommy to come. And it's interesting how even The Independent termed it. They said Jewish leaders criticize the Israeli government. They're trying to draw a wedge between the Jewish community and between the Israeli government. And that's what they're trying to do to attack it. And they said leaders of Britain's Jewish community have criticised, and who are these leaders? And then it says the Board of Deputies and the Jewish Leadership Council said Robinson represents the very worst of Britain. Really? Are those on the streets calling for the destruction of Israel, are they not the very worst in Britain? Or those who've turned a blind eye to 50 years of grooming gangs where hundreds of thousands of girls have been mass raped, are those not the worst of Britain? Seriously, is Tommy Robinson the worst of Britain? Is that the state of journalism we're at? And yeah, you look at many people just out of fear of associating with Tommy, and the state have tried to make him an enemy of the state. They've done all they can, and yet his support is there. You go with Tommy anywhere, and he is stopped continuously, like every 20 seconds. People want a selfie. There's adulation. There's respect for him speaking out and putting his life on the line to stand up for those who are disadvantaged and speaking truth. And that's what the public want from their members of parliament, but they don't, because our MPs are generally fairly pathetic and are looking at their careers more than they're looking at truth. And Tommy isn't looking at the career because he doesn't have one, and is just standing up for what's right. And people see that, they respect it. And shame on all our media, shame on all our politicians for taking pot shots at Tommy instead of actually asking, what is he talking about mass immigration, about the grooming gangs, etc., What is he talking about? And does he have a point? If so, let's address this instead of demonizing the person who speaks truth and rings true with the British public.
Yeah, and it could help your cause, couldn't it? I mean, Alan Miller, do you not think it's more important for people like Mike Graham and James Cleverly to unite against real enemies? I find it really hard for them to see I find it really hard to see how they can view Tommy Robinson as an enemy here. But first, you know how often I talk about the need for free speech to be protected, but I've been increasingly thinking of the need too for personal protection from snoopers, from bad actors, from hackers, all online. And I'm delighted to tell you I've found the fail-safe solution. And this virtual private network, or VPN, is a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. So I want to introduce you to Surfshark, an incredible, easy-to-use service that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning your online activities stay safe so you can shop, you can stream, you can browse, you can conduct your banking in complete privacy online. But the benefits of Surfshark go way beyond keeping you safe. It also allows you to access your favorite entertainment and news shows and international streaming services like Hulu, iPlayer, HBO Max, Peacock, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and if your favorite shows are geo-blocked, within seconds you can be watching as if you're in another country. Really helpful, by the way, for traveling for work or on holiday. I did this recently when I went to Barbados. I could still get all of my favorite content from home using Surfshark, including sports. Plus, it's an insurance policy against creeping censorship in so many countries, which do block particular services like Rumble, for example. What Surfshark allows you to do is watch anything, anytime, anywhere. True freedom. Plus, and I didn't know this, a VPN can save you money, because you can get the best deals from websites that actually change their prices depending on which part of the world you are buying from. You can use Surfshark on unlimited devices, meaning your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. And there are over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, meaning a world of choice is at your fingertips with 24/7 customer service if this is your first time using a VPN. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. And this is super important. Surfshark is so confident that it is the best VPN in the world that you can give it a try for a full 30 days. And if you're not entirely satisfied, you will get your money back. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken right now for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. But now, back to the show.
So, I mean, I don't really want to speak for anyone else because they're going to have to argue for themselves and make their own point. I think for a long time, people have said all sorts of things about some people and try to, we often hear people repeating things that people have heard about people rather than listening either to the content of what they're saying, the content of what they're saying or what they're doing. Now, look, Tommy himself has said that some of the things he's done historically, who hasn't done some things historically that they don't think is brilliant or illuminates the best of what they are. I know that lots of people who've changed their positions, there's lots more people now who travel and work together and operate together that often had very different views before, or they may still have different views about a number of things, but around some core principles they share views. I think a couple of things are really interesting, right? That you've got a prime minister who says that there should be a recognition of a state of Palestine before refugees are given back, right? So there's obviously a lot of concern from many people, not just necessarily Israelis, but people elsewhere with that statement. There's also a highly politicized discussion around Palestine, or whatever you want to call Palestine, Gaza, the West Bank, that whole region in this country that often is not even about that. It's often from people who don't know what river to what sea we're talking about, and often is much more about an attack on the very foundations of Britain and Western society, and it's an idea that they're with them, not us. They don't often talk about Sudan or Yemen or Nigeria or India or all sorts of areas where many attacks on
the
Syria,
deaths of Christian.
Yeah, well, Christian and others, and millions of people are killed, at citizens and children and women and babies. But there's this unique criticism of what's going on there for what's going on, and I think that at the same time, look, like in every area, people elect their own leaders, and you know, in the exchange also that Tommy's had between different people, right, with Heidi background and others, there's been a lot that's been flying around, right, and I think that the thing is, we've got a number of issues to deal with, and the only way you deal with them honestly is to thrash them out and debate them. It's very easy to just name call people, and it's very easy to put them in a box. And it might be that some names some people call people are actually fitting, right? I'm not saying you've got outlaw name calling, by the way, right? Because that's part of free speech too. But it's not very grown up, and it doesn't help us. And what we need to do is be able to get to the content of the virtue of the argument. We need to debate it, and the majority of it, and this is where it really falls to I think, right, that people say left and right, down and all. I'm not so much in that, right? What I'm in the view of is people that believe in sovereignty, they believe in our nation state, they believe in values, they believe in civilization. They do not believe in something that wants to shut that down, whether it be globalist technocrats who prefer Davos to parliament, or whether it be people who like radical jihadism. And the fact that we've had a problem dealing with those, the second lot of issues, particularly in those discussions around what's happened in some of our inner city areas, in our prisons in particular, because young men don't want to carry on fighting, and then there's a radical infiltration of it there, and then they come out in our institutions, in some of the kind of councils. If we see even the Green Party, the kind of vice leader gets up and shouts Allahu Akbar, and then he's now the vice leader of that party. Is it about green issues, or is it something else? Across the board, and we've had an issue that anyone who wants to address some of those questions will then be branded and presented as some. And I would say to everyone, it's very difficult and uncomfortable, right, when you have to be responsible and accountable for your ideas. Some will behave really badly, right, and they'll want to attack, and they say that words of violence. No, violence is violence. If anything, from Charlie Kirk and what we've seen, right, we all have to stand even stronger and firmer. And I've got to say, like that clip, of that disgusting clip, if that guy's a man who thinks that he's going to like start putting it on a woman, like he's got a t-shirt. I didn't see what happened beforehand. It's always something to think about with video clips, right? But you can see how he's behaving in that. Now, I just want to say to everyone, firstly, believe in what you believe in, and let's openly thrash it out calmly. If you want to get in a boxing ring, do that. If you want to go to be in the military, do that. If you want to go to a war zone, do that. But if you're a man, don't start trying to put it on a woman. And I think it's just really reflective, right, of how much things have denigrated, right? This idea that some people have got that somehow they've got the complete answer and they can conduct themselves like that. And I would love to encourage everyone to hold the line and be as robust. We are, after all, still fellow citizens with one another. And I do not want to go down a road where some of us might, I'm just going to say this, right? We might feel more comfortable behaving in a certain way and dealing with that, right? It's not going to get us anywhere. And I think the other thing is, just like I want to say this, after at Charlie Kirk's memorial, when I was there and subsequently, you can see how stoic and well-behaved people are and calm, as are some demonstrations and some vigils. And then you see others where people are not behaving like that. And I really think that it's important to call things out for what they are, to have to hold
no
people.
cities were burnt down, Alan,
Yes.
after
Yeah,
Charlie
exactly.
Kirk's death. Very different
Yes, exactly.
after George Floyd's death.
Exactly. And we all know George Floyd's name. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but I asked people to name the man that was murdered, the 61-year-old in Manchester. Most people could not. There are reasons for all these things, right? And that's the point about just smearing people. Look, I've gone on demonstrations against ULEZ or LTNs, and people have gone, "Oh, that's Alan Miller. He's this anti-thisser or thisser," right? And they've heard this thing, and I try and bring people along. And when I've had people say that this person's racist, whatever, I've brought my black mates along, said, "You ask him if it," because I've been told this, you've heard this, you ask him that, and you speak to them. And I think the thing is that we need to thrash this out, right? And we're not allow the people who've tried to dominate the agenda and say any question of it, like the Labour Party conference did, is racist. But I will say this as well, Dan, right? I think that the British public have been very clear. They're ahead of everyone. They're ahead of every party, the new parties as well. every group, they are very clear. They've fed up with being gaslit and called names. They know what's going on. They've been clear for a long time about what they want to happen with borders. They want the government out their private lives. They want a decent economy. They want borders protected. They don't want to be called names. They don't want over scrutiny. And they want the government just to get on with what the government should do and not in their private lives. And I think the thing is that the more that this goes down this road, right, we've just got to be careful about certain things. One, everyone and anyone that asks for more laws and lawfare to shut things down, right? We have to politically win the arguments with our fellow citizens, not just go, well, this lot or that lot or this ilk or that ilk are no good, so now we're going to have rules for those extremists, because we're all going to be extremists, right, in some people's view. And these things are happening at a huge pace really quickly, right? And I think that's why it's essential. I mean, your show's covered so much today, and it's always something to learn from and fascinating, right? And it's also very unnerving because we see what we're dealing with. But I really want to encourage everyone as much as possible. Let's all try and get outside those we agree with. Let's try and engage and debate with those we don't agree with. And here I'm going to be doing a debate at the Battle of Ideas with one of the guys from Labour Together, who's championing the proposal
Digital
for
ID.
ID. Right. So the thing is, it's important that we do that.
Yeah, which is what Charlie Kirk wanted to do. I mean, he tried to get Van Jones face to face in the final days of his life. And I do think it's so important, Alan. I guess the key message I take from that today is let's just be very careful of Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, saying, oh, we want to have these new laws to control protests, and we're doing it to protect the Jewish community. You know, that's what she's going to say, isn't she? We're doing it to protect the Jewish community. Actually, those laws will be used to shut down protests by Together Declaration, regular protests outside the migrant hotels. So let's just think very, very carefully about what Labour claims it's doing for the Jewish community on October the 7th, and actually what it's really doing to target free speech altogether. But both, thank you so much. Hearts of Oak podcast, you know I love it. I have appeared on it many, many times. So do subscribe and download. And Alan Miller of the brilliant Together Declaration, which you can find at togetherdeclaration.org, campaigning against digital ID. Thank you both so much. Okay, we're going to reveal our Greatest Britain Union Jackass in just one moment, though. First, thank you for your super chats. Mr. Steve 170 says Jenrick will be Tory leader before the next election. He is, of course, words only. Tory party is too split to do anything. Political tactics to get votes. Alex Marmon says get Mike Graham on Outspoken. That would be great. And welcome to Outspoken Plus, Lisa Brown, Elvia van der Watt, and Older Taylor. Okay, a reminder of your Union Jackass nominees. Kamali Melbourne of Sky News, or Sly News, as I call it, nominated by Kaz Quinn for trying to ambush Robert Jenrick. Syra Khan, nominated by Matt Cassidy 048, who says, white angry men are fair game. We had murder on our streets again, but the MSM have managed to turn blokes into the problem. And James O'Brien, nominated by Real Mick Cass, who has given him a new nickname, which I love, James No Brain, for defending Gary Neville. And your results are in. In third place with 8% of the vote, Kamali Melbourne of Sly News. The runner-up with 24% of the vote, Syra Khan, after her rant about white men. But your Union Jackass today with 68% of the vote. It is LBC's James O'Brien. The Greatest Britain today, nominated by Scott Fly 230. Simon Jordan. He says he is a brilliant man with a brilliant mind. His thoughts on Gary Neville are well worth a listen. And if you missed them, make sure you go and watch Outspoken from yesterday, which is in our live tab on YouTube, because I play them for you and we have a big debate about it too. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.